So today we're going to talk about the ever popular question that I get, which is when I'm healing somebody else, what do I do? What am I supposed to be doing? Because essentially with Reiki, when we place our hands on somebody else, the Reiki is flowing without us having to do anything. It's an automatic process. And I'm sure you've noticed this yourself when you put your hands on somebody's injury or on somebody's head when they have a headache, or you're giving them a full hour treatment or whatever it is that you're doing. There is a flow that happens without you having to think, without you having to do anything. So then people get confused. Okay, so the energy is just flowing through my hands. What is it that I am meant to be doing with my mind? And if I say nothing, most people don't find that very useful because they're like, I don't know how to do nothing. But essentially, that is actually the advice, is to do nothing, to be open, to be in a very non-judgmental space. And this is actually a lot harder for people than we think. But it is also easier. So if I know that when I'm giving somebody a treatment, I do not have to come up with any spectacular advice, I do not have to figure out what's going on in the body, then it gives me permission to simply be present. Now, this is a great practice because mostly we're not present. Mostly we are thinking. We're thinking about what we should be doing next, or we're thinking about what's happened before. And it's very difficult to be present in our lives. There's always something to do, somewhere to go, somebody to talk to. So for me, giving somebody else healing is actually a huge opportunity for me to practice true mindfulness, true presence. And it is a massive gift. It's not only a gift for you, because you get an hour to really just be with another person in just a very intimate way where you don't have to do anything. And it's extraordinary how we never do that, actually. For this person who's receiving the treatment, they will feel their permission to be themselves. Because what normally happens is if I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with you, and I'm trying to think, oh, okay, this means this and that means that, and what does this sensation mean, and why is it hot on this part of the body, and I'm constantly thinking. Actually, what I'm doing really is I'm cluttering up the space between us. I'm cluttering up the energy with my thoughts. And believe it or not, the person who's lying on the bed or receiving healing from you can feel this. They can feel that you feel they're not okay. This is very important. They feel that you feel they are not okay. So what that means is that they also feel they need to fix something of themselves. Something is wrong, something needs to be fixed. And that may seem obvious, like if someone comes to me and they're ill, or somebody comes to me and they're enormously stressed or depressed, then surely something is wrong. Really? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they just actually need permission to be totally fine in that moment. And if I can, for 1 hour, give somebody an experience of being perfectly fine and okay in that moment, it is a much bigger gift than any advice I could possibly give them. The advice I can give them is based on my own filters, my own opinions, and may or may not have any truth for them, may have no truth for them whatsoever. Because often the advice I'm giving somebody else is my own opinions about what I should be doing. And so think about that next time you give somebody some advice, is actually just turn it around. You'll always find it's for you. Whenever we give somebody else advice, it's always for us. It's hilarious. So often when you're giving advice to a client, just stop. It's like, is it really for them or is it for you? And one of the things to really come into the space of when you are healing somebody is not needing to figure stuff out and just allowing that non-judgmental self to come in and being really open in that space. So if you are just allowing the energy to flow and you are allowing the person to do whatever they need to do in that space, that is healing. That is Reiki healing, because essentially Reiki is universal life force. And universal life force is going to be working whether you push it in there or not, and whether you think it in or not, or whether you have some mind-blowing advice or not. The universal energy is working in ways that you cannot possibly imagine. And by allowing the space for it to work really properly is the best gift you can give somebody, and the best gift you can give yourself as well. So I really recommend that when you're doing healing for others, that you bear this in mind and you focus on creating an open and present space rather than focusing on what the sensations mean and what the interpretations of images mean and whether they're okay and whether they're getting it and yada, yada, yada. Forget all that. It's irrelevant. None of that is important. The most important thing is, are you really creating a space because you are simply okay with everything, and you're okay with them, and you're okay with the situation, and you're okay with whatever's going through your hands. That okayness is the gift of the healing, not your advice at the end of the session. So play with it. Try it out for yourself, and you will see what I'm talking about.